Yo, yo, yo. Y'all see what I'm rocking? The 8 on the jersey. I'm back. It's your boy. You know the face. You know the name. I'm lining it up from the corner. Here I go for three. It's your boy, Trey for three. And I'm back with another video after a long little hiatus here. One that started sometime during the season. Life got crazy. I've been going through a whole bunch of different changes in my life. Got a lot going on, and I just haven't had the time to put the effort into these videos that I really want to put into these videos. So I haven't been putting them out. But I'm here now. We're out. And I want to just do a quick little preview prior to the Ravens going on the clock tonight for the start of the NFL draft. Got some notes here. The first things that I want to talk about, of course, is what kind of derailed this video. This video was originally, like I said, supposed to be just a straight up preview of the Ravens draft and who I think, may be selected and whatnot, some potential picks. But it was derailed by the biggest news of the offseason for Baltimore Ravens fans. The owner of this jersey right here, Lamar Jackson, the quarterback as of last year of the Baltimore Ravens, has officially signed a long-term extension with the Ravens. It is exactly a 5-year, $260 million deal with $185 in guarantees, at least from what I've seen so far. Some of the number of reports have started to come out in a few hours since it was reported. But this was something that I planned to do. I thought about it a couple of days ago. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. This morning, I'm finalizing the script and whatnot, and then boom, less than 2 hours later, the biggest news of the offseason for Ravens fans drops. I'm excited. I hope y'all are excited. For those who follow me on Instagram and Twitter, I'm sure you saw the couple of posts that I had. I'm very much excited, but very much expected this outcome. So I'm not surprised by the outcome. Just, of course, no one knew the day or time except for the Ravens and Lamar. But super glad to see Lamar going to be the quarterback for the next 5 years. And we're here tonight to discuss who his team is going to draft with their first pick at pick number 22, and if they even draft someone for him with their first round pick, or if they go the defensive route. But again, just to go through some quick recap of the offseason for the Ravens. They lost a close game in the wild card round to end their season against the divisional rival Cincinnati Bengals, with Tyler Huntley playing at quarterback because Lamar was still injured at the time. They subsequently parted ways with Greg Roman at the beginning of the offseason. That was something that I personally had been advocating for since at least like the 6th or 7th game of the season. There were a lot of people that was calling for Greg Roman's job before this year. I wasn't fully on that bandwagon. I was kind of running after the bandwagon like, hey, if we struggle to start the season, I need him fired right then and there. You can ask anybody that knows me that's had this conversation with me. That was the quote I was using. If we struggle to start the season, I need him gone before week 6 type of thing. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, potentially in part because of the fact that we didn't struggle to start the season, but then the injury bug hit us again. Not as bad as last year, but it hit us, and it hit us where it hurt offensively, and we weren't able to put up those numbers and compete the way that we were prior to the injuries of Rashad Bateman and then subsequently Lamar Jackson and Devin Duvernay. The wide receiver room was the most effective from that. I'm not going to get big in depth into this right now. I'm going to have another video dropping closer to the beginning of the preseason. That will be a recap of the entire offseason, and I'll get into more specifics of a lot of the player movements and things like that. But I just want to kind of give y'all the spark notes today. So that happened. Greg Roman gone. Thank goodness he's out of here. And I do not think my mic is on. That was up. Let me check and see. Shoot. That would really suck. Let's see here. This is why I'm supposed to add this up to start. Oh, yeah. I'm good. I hear myself. So everybody else must hear me because I can hear myself. All right, so back to the rant. So subsequently, Greg Roman was fired. That was great. Lovely. Needed it to happen. Well, he wasn't fired. My apologies. The correct term was that he and the Ravens mutually agreed to part ways, which is the fancy business speech for we both knew what was up, and it was time to make it happen. So we made it happen. So Greg Roman's out the door. Then they hire his replacement. There was a lot of potential candidates. I liked Eric Bieniemy as one of those guys. I liked, I think it was Shane Stitchen, whoever the Eagles offensive coordinator was last year. I think Shane Stitchen, who actually became a head coach elsewhere. So I guess he wasn't in the market for an offensive coordinator job again. But he was a guy that I liked. Eric Bieniemy was a guy that I liked. And a guy, I swear to goodness, and you can ask all my friends. This is another reason why I wish I put out these videos more timely. But again, I just didn't have the time with everything going on in my life right now. But I swear I lie to you not. I will even, man, I will post the screenshot of the conversation I had with one of my friends on my Twitter and Instagram pages. I swear, I didn't call it. I just said that it would be one of the dream hires, one of my top two hires for the position. It was literally Eric Bieniemy and Todd Monken. I seen what Todd Monken had did in Georgia, how similar it was to what the Ravens had did. The heavy usage of the tight ends, the heavy run game. It wasn't super duper heavy in Georgia, but the heavy use of the tight ends, the run game. I just felt like the guy was somebody that could um, really could come in and make the most out of the weapons that the Ravens had. And that was before I even realized that this is Todd Monken, is the same guy who was the offensive coordinator during Freddie Kitchens' reign in Cleveland and coached up Odell some. He was Odell's offensive coordinator for his last 1,000-yard receiving season. That's huge for a couple reasons that we'll mention in just a few minutes. But that was huge. Outside of that, there was that. There was the fact that when he was with the Tampa Bay and Jameis Winston was his QB, he made what's the word I'm looking for? They led the league in either pass yards or pass touchdowns, but that shows you his versatility, that he's willing to work with what he has around him and whatnot. Mike Evans and Jameis Winston are much different than Stetson Bennett and the guys that he had around him at Georgia. You feel me? But he made the most of the talent that he had on deck. And I think that speaks volumes to any type of coordinator, any type of person, to be able to take what you're given or take what you have in front of you and make the most out of it successfully. So that was big. So we hired Todd Monken. Boom. Then we non-exclusive franchise tag Lamar Jackson. I had a bunch of mixed feelings about that, but the more that I thought about it, the more that I realized it's very few teams in the league. And this was when it first happened. Mind you, since then, no one has no one had attempted to negotiate with Lamar, or at least were stating publicly that they were uninterested. But to me, it was like, I didn't think that there was truly a handful of teams. Like, I could count on one hand how many teams there were that I felt could realistically contend with the Ravens as far as outbidding them for Lamar this year. I felt like there weren't a lot of teams that would be interested in outbidding the Ravens, signing Lamar to a huge contract that would eat up a bunch of their salary, and then also kick out their next two first-round picks to the Ravens, which would help them build around Lamar if they weren't capable, if they didn't already have that roster around whatever potential situation he would have gone to. So that was really huge, I think. And for me, that was really what kind of got me confident about the non-exclusive tag. I mean, comparing it to the exclusive tag, where you're paying him, I think is a difference of about $10 or $15 million, which is significant when we're talking about the difference between like 35 million and 50 million or something like that. That's what the numbers were, or 30 million and 45 million, something like that. But so I think that's a huge difference, even though the exclusive tag prevented anyone else from negotiating with Lamar. He would just be on that tag. I think that was huge, that they strategized like that, you know. In subsequent weeks, there was a bunch of criticism, but also a bunch of praise for the Ravens' decision-making moves, game plan. Decided it was a great idea to let the market control how they would negotiate with Lamar, since over the last 3 years they hadn't been able to do so. But ultimately, it worked out. No one attempted to sign Lamar, at least publicly. And as of today, like I said, the guy signed the 5-year, $260 million extension. Like I said, other teams have been free to negotiate with him. There was thoughts going around. Was collusion involved? Was it a matter of collusion? Was he just too expensive to be a target? And I'm getting close to 8 o'clock, so I don't want to go too long here. I want everybody to be able to check out that first pick. So let me just fly through the rest of this. The Ravens, then their next big move, or their next big move. I'm only, spark notes. Like I said, their next big move was the signing of Odell Beckham, a signing that, according to Eric DeCosta, was something in the making since last year. Odell sat out all of last year after tearing his ACL in the Super Bowl in a game that looked like he may become the Super Bowl MVP of. But we make it happen, sign Odell to a huge contract that some have criticized, but I think was a bit wise and masterful, given the use of the void years that allows you to push the number down the road and not take a big cap hit in the first year. But the numbers on the outside looking in was 1 year, $15 million guaranteed, with an additional $3 million that could be gained in incentives if he leads the team in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and catches. Either lead the team in those three categories or like touch 1,000 yards and 80 catches and stuff like that. But basically, if he leads the team in those in any of those three categories, it's an extra mil per category. So I think that was great. You give Lamar the big time, true proven wide receiver one, even if it's a guy that's going into his age 30 season and coming off a second ACL tear, because let Odell tell it, it was never healed before he played on it again and re-injured it. But so that was huge. Now there's buzz. Also, Lamar was actively recruiting OBJ. The reports were saying, even though there wasn't any indication of what his future with the Ravens would be, but I think that was a sign. And I mean, hindsight's 2020. Now it looks like that probably was the case. Now there's reports that DeAndre Hopkins is potentially on the Ravens' radar and could be traded to the Ravens. It would require the Cards to cover a good amount of his high salary cap hit that he has for next season, and some draft compensation, which may be difficult to agree on given how much the Ravens value their draft capital. But I think if you if you trade for D-Hop tonight, especially before pick 22 comes around, there's no need to pick a receiver at pick 22, which makes it increasingly more likely that they either draft a cornerback or trade back to acquire an extra pick or two, and still get a guy that they feel like is a guy that'll be a day one starter or contributor for them. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Like I said, this is what the strategy is. This is where I think the Ravens go. I really like the idea of still drafting a receiver with pick number 22. The reason for that is because Odell's contract is only a 1-year deal for right now. And Nelson Aguilar, another receiver that was signed this offseason, is also on a 1-year deal. Devin Duvernay, their wide receiver 2 prior to the signing of Odell, is also going into a contract year. So you have 3 receivers on the roster next year that may not be there the following year. On top of that, you still have Tylan Wallace and James Prochet, who haven't impressed as of yet. And then the only other guys that you have is Rashad Bateman. So in order to not put yourself in a situation like you were in right now, or even worse, the situation that you were in last year, I think you go ahead and still draft a receiver with your top pick, a guy that you know or are confident can come in and contribute, if not start right away. So that's my biggest thing. But I think that it is wise to go with the corner if you want to go corner, mainly because right now the starting corner opposite Marlon Humphrey would be Brandon Stevens, a guy who I do not believe is ready for the starting role in the NFL yet. But the reason why I'm not fully in on the corner with the first pick because of that fact is due to the fact that there are some potential starting caliber cornerbacks, including Marcus Peters, who was our QB cornerback 2 last year, who are still free agents right now, could be re-signed on cheap veteran deals, and start and truly contribute for your team. So I think that lessens the need for a first-round cornerback. I like the idea of a third-round corner, especially if there's a guy available that you think could contribute or be a day one starter. I think that's huge. So again, personally, I like wide receiver with the first pick. But corner with the first pick makes a lot of sense. It's technically our biggest need right now since we've signed Odell. But again, like I said, because of how the receiver situation is set up, we're going to be in this boat again next year. So we might as well go with the receiver with that first pick. That's what your guy trade for 3 thinks. The guys that I like at receiver right now, Jordan Addison. I think he's a crisp, smooth route runner. I think that his play on the field is much faster and more deceptive than his was a 4.45 or 4.5 40-yard time was. I'm not too worried about that. I'd rather a guy that's kind of fast but can create separation like hell and catch the hell out of a ball. I'd like that over a burner with drop issues or stuff like that any day. Speaking of drop issues, is the reason why I'm not big on Quentin Johnson. I think that if we go with receiver in the first round, it has to either be Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, the speedy short receiver out of Boston College, or it has to be Jackson Smith and Jigma, who I think is the best, smoothest, crispest route runner, true receiver in the class. One of those 3 guys. Or I like the idea of trading back. You trade back, pick up some draft capital either to late first round or early second round. And then if you drop down to early second round, I think in that range, 2 guys that I really like are Jalen Hyatt and the Mingo kid out of Ole Miss, 2 receivers that I really think would be good fits for the Ravens. I like Mingo more than Hyatt just because I feel like he fits the mold of what we are and what we need more. But Jalen Hyatt as a speedster, I think will play a great role. So that's my prediction for tonight, round 1. I'll try and come back tomorrow for some predictions for day 2 of the draft, especially since the Ravens have a pick in in round 3 on night 2. So we'll check that out. But for now, thanks for everybody that tuned in. I appreciate it. And for all those that caught up on the back end, let me know what you think. Drop a comment down below. And we'll see if this video ages well and exactly what the Ravens do with their 22nd pick tonight. Will they pick a receiver? Will they pick a corner? Will they go with best player available? Is that best player available not a receiver or corner? Or even better, will they trade back to acquire more draft capital since they had their least amount of picks, 5, since 1999, 3 years after they were founded? Where they have 4 picks. So they have 5 picks tonight. As an organization that seems to love having draft picks, I truly believe that they will probably at some point during this draft acquire more than 5 picks. But that's all for me. I'll see you guys next time. Lined up in the corner for the shot. It's your boy, Trey, for 3. I'll see y'all later.